3 of the stories on this video were submitted directly to me for this video. If you want your story in a video, go to astheravendreams.com/submit or check the links down below, and thank you. I'm originally from England, and I'm going to be a bit vague with this, but I was born and raised in Essex. When I hit my adult years, I was given the opportunity to come over to the US to further my education, and I took it. Long story short, I ended up getting married and have lived in the Chicago area ever since. I think that's enough backstory to really explain who I am, and why things were going on when this glitch took place. A few years ago, I decided that I wanted to take some time off and fly back overseas to visit my parents. It had been a while since I'd seen my hometown, and I figured it would be a nice way to spend a couple of weeks in the summer. Unfortunately, my husband couldn't take the time off from work, and we decided that we didn't want to take our 6-year-old son on an airplane to another country. But he was able to at least take the days off to take me to the airport and pick me up when I returned. On the day that I was supposed to leave, we ended up waking up late because our alarms seemingly didn't go off, and I was freaking out about the possibility of missing my flight. I remember that the whole morning was chaotic, and I felt like I was going crazy. Thankfully, I had taken the time the night before to pack and get my luggage in the car, so we didn't lose too much time, but I remember feeling like I was in a major panic the entire time. I remember checking my ticket, checking the departure time, and I recall that I had an hour and a half at most to get there and get through everything. Honestly, I was fairly upset. We had both set several alarms to make sure that I got up on time and didn't miss the flight. When we got to the airport, I remember him parking and getting my son out so that we could say goodbye before I actually went through security. But something felt really off. Again, I know that's vague, but I'll explain it the best I can. The minute I walked through the doors of the airport, the air felt heavier, and the overall mood felt solemn. It almost felt like time slowed down and like everyone that walked by was staring at me as they passed. I know that sounds really weird, but it's honestly the best way that I can explain what it was that happened. Something changed as soon as I walked in those doors, and I have no idea what it was or why it happened. Anyways, I get my luggage checked and everything all taken care of, and I'm rushing through the process so I can get through security as quickly as possible. I'm making a quick walk back toward the gate, and my husband and son are trying to keep up when he asks me why I'm rushing so much. I just kind of stared at him. Did he not remember how much we were panicking this morning to get out the door and get here? I told him that we were running late, and that I needed to get through security ASAP. To which he looked at his wrist, then back at me, and drops a bombshell that confused the hell out of me. He stares at me confused and then says that my flight doesn't leave for around 3 hours. I was shocked by him saying this. I had an hour and a half left when we left home. Had he just remembered the time wrong? I ask what he's talking about and pull up my ticket to look at the departure time. And he was right. 2 hours and 43 minutes before my flight. I asked him how that was possible. We woke up late. and I asked why we were freaking out so much to leave the house if we had that much time left to go. He again stares at me confused and explains that we woke up on time. He completely disregards my statement and tells me that the entire morning has been a smooth ride and that everything has gone as it was supposed to. I mentioned the alarms not going off. He says that his alarm went off and that he woke me up that morning. He then tells me that he noticed about halfway here that I was looking upset, and he kind of just chuckled and asked if it was because I thought I was late. I told him no and moved on. I honestly was done trying to explain it. I have no idea what the hell happened when I walked through those doors, but it was as if my entire morning had been reset to how it was supposed to be. We weren't late, there was no panic, and we had woken up on time to the alarms. I distinctly remember all this, though there's no doubt in my mind that my version of events happened. I just don't think they happened in whatever timeline I shifted to. Three years ago, I arranged to meet with a Buddhist monk who held his own teaching practice for meditation. I was very anxious leading up to it, because this was totally out of my comfort zone. When I arrived, he bowed and immediately invited me to sit down in meditation for 10 minutes. Of course, we hadn't even greeted each other yet, so I'm way overthinking it. I sat down, and a few minutes later, I experienced something crazy. It felt like being dizzy horizontally. Like my mind was doing backflips, and it made me nauseous. I had a clear vision that he was literally trying to pull my consciousness up into this room. Not the one we were in, to speak with me there. It was clear as day, and I was terrified. Coming out of the meditation, I was sweating. I told him about it right away. I was a blubbering fool, and he just smiled. He reminded me to breathe and said that the mind can play tricks on us. But that's not the end of the story. And after I left, despite my extremely anxious experience, I felt inexplicably calm, awake, and present. It was a pleasant feeling, and I went to Ocean State Job Lot to pick up some things. As I was walking down an aisle, I made brief eye contact with an older man. My immediate feeling was that he knows. He sees me and he gets it. I guess what I meant was he was awake and aware too, and I could see it. So I walk around. I'm standing in the pasta aisle and he stops at the end and just starts talking. I don't even know what he's talking about at first, but I just listened. Any other day, I would have thought he was just a creep. Finally, my mind snapped into attention when he said something like, "Most people would have ignored me, so thank you. You know why I'm over here, right? 'Cause you get it. I saw it when you walked down that aisle." I felt like time freaking stood still. My heart was racing, but I still felt emotionally calm. He starts telling me that when he was a kid, his mom knew he had a gift when he approached a woman at the store and said, "It's a good thing your dog was in the front seat." Apparently, the woman told his mom that she'd been in an accident, and the dog would have died if she put him in the back seat as usual. And then he starts saying stuff about me that no one could ever have known. I like nature. I feel confident and alive outdoors. I'm a giver, but have a hard time receiving. People lean on me for support, and I take pride in this, but I hide my emotions from others and then resent that they're not there for me as much. That I'm independent and stubborn, on and on. And the one that really got me that would be impossible to predict, that I feel most at peace and connected to myself when I'm by bodies of water, because I associate it with the seat of the soul. I've been dreaming about water nearly every night for over a decade. I often associate it with the subconscious, and where do I go when I need to center myself? Water. Every single time. I have no way of explaining this, you guys. He left by saying something was going to happen to me. Of course, I panicked, but he said, "I can't tell you, but you're going to be very, very happy." All of this in the Ocean State job lot. I left literally dumbfounded, like almost in tears at this experience. But also, the very different state that I felt we were in, it didn't feel like everyday life. Everything stood still. And to top it off, he introduced himself as Joe Lasagna while we talked in the pasta aisle. Edit. I just want to add also that the experience made me realize that not only is our perception shaped by our thoughts, the world interacts with us differently based on how open we are and our mind state. I thoroughly believe, had I not been in whatever state that was, this wouldn't have happened. I don't know how I got there or how to get back, but I imagine what world of possibility would open up if I, or we, could. So, recently, a lot of random things have been quite literally disappearing from existence with no explanation. Today, a very significant and strange one happened, but I'll start this with the first one that happened and end with the most recent. A couple of weeks ago, me and my dad were picking up fast food for lunch. My mom wanted us to get food from a certain place that we didn't want, so we were getting a different kind of food. Yada yada. Basically, we were getting our food and going to eat in the car while we went to get my mom's. I requested a knife to cut my burger, and they gave us one. I then watched my dad sit the burger down on his lap, take the knife, and sit it on the wrapper, then reach across the car and hand it to me. I took it and looked to find the knife so I could prepare my lunch, but there was no knife. Now, one would think it must have fallen somewhere, but it didn't. We ended up searching the whole area of the car, beneath the seats, the floor, everywhere, no knife. We just carried on, and I ate my burger without cutting it. Later that day, I was laying on my bed eating a chocolate bar. I noticed my phone was low on battery and rolled onto my side to reach for my charger cord, which was plugged into the wall next to me. However, as I grabbed the cord, I dropped my candy bar on the floor. I just plugged my phone in and then reached down to grab the bar, but there was nothing there. I had just cleaned the room earlier, so the floor was completely empty near the bed. I searched around, shook out the sheets on the bed, looked underneath the bed and side table. Everything. It was nowhere to be found. I was irritated and confused as to where it went, but just shook it off as nothing and went back to my phone. Then, just a few days after that, one of the weirdest things I have ever seen happened. I was sitting in my living room, sitting on a little stool. We're doing some repairs on the house, so there isn't any actual furniture there at the moment. I had a bit of allergies that day, so I was blowing my nose. There's a few garbage bags lying around the room, again because of the cleaning and repairs and all that, so I just threw the napkin I used on my nose across the room at one of the bags. I missed, though, and the napkin rolled to the floor. I got up and walked over, but stopped for a moment to pet my cat because he was meowing at me, and when I looked back over, the entire trash bag straight up disappeared. Like, it was there 10 seconds ago, I was just looking at it, and then it was gone. I was actually scared and left the room immediately, and my parents started to get confused too at that point. Then, the most significant thing happened today. I had gone outside for some fresh air with my mom, and it's still a bit chilly, so I was wearing one of my jackets. I took my jacket off once I got inside, and, with the hood of it in hand, reached over to hang it up on the coat rack that's by the door, and I'm not really sure how to explain what happened next. It sounds silly, but it was almost like I blinked and the coat was suddenly gone. Like, I was about to hang it up, and it just ceased to exist. I looked over at my mom and was like, "Did you see that?" But she hadn't seen it happen. We ended up searching the entire room trying to find it, went back outside to see if I dropped it, all that, but nothing. My jacket simply disappeared out of my hand, and I definitely didn't just forget putting it somewhere because my mom was right there and confirmed that I had just walked in and taken my jacket off, that I hadn't even crossed the room. This scared me absolutely senseless at this point, and after searching for it, I sat in the corner for like an hour, wondering how that happened. Okay, hi everyone. I just found this subreddit today while looking for some answers for an incident that I experienced about 2 weeks ago. It really freaked me out, and even now, I can't forget about it. So, some basic information. I'm 18, female, and was out at Panera Bread with my mom for something to eat. After we finished, I got up to throw our trash away, maybe 20 feet away from our table. I turned back while near the trash can and saw a young man staring directly at me, maybe 10 feet away. I had passed by just a few seconds before where he was standing, as it cut through the line to order, but I perhaps hadn't noticed someone there, or I hadn't seen him at all when I walked by to get to the trash bin. He looked out of place, as he was wearing a fancy dark blue trench coat, was quite tall, white, blondish, maybe late 20s with light-colored eyes. The area I'm from is mostly POC and not as well off as other areas. What kind of freaked me out was, as soon as I turned, his eyes were already on mine. They were really focused on just my eyes, and it seemed like he was maybe smiling under his face mask. It didn't feel like he was checking me out or anything, but just staring very precisely into my eyes. We held eye contact for about 3 seconds. It felt longer than they really were. I kept looking at him as I passed him and walked back to my table because he wouldn't break eye contact. Once I passed him, I turned to look at my mom at my table for a couple of seconds, and then turned back because I could feel him still looking. There was absolutely no one there. The door wasn't open or closing either. It was odd because he was second or third in line already, so why would he just leave? The doors were still shut, and everyone else was still in their place in line. I was confused, so I craned my neck and took a full survey of the whole place, which wasn't that big, and it was pretty easy from my place at the corner. I speed-walked further into the restaurant, checking every table, and even near the bathroom to see if he wandered to another part. But he was literally just not there. Trust me when I say that I looked everywhere in that tiny Panera Bread joint for almost 5 minutes. I even peeked out the huge glass windows/doors. I asked my mom if she saw some fancy-looking young guy waiting in line or walking around, but she said no, she hadn't noticed. I asked her if we could leave right away because I was spooked. I maybe would have just shrugged this off, but the way he looked into my eyes really bothered me. It was like he knew me, or knew something about me. I didn't recognize him at all. The long eye contact we made makes me so sure that he was actually there. It's been almost 2 weeks now, and it keeps popping up in my mind. Right after it happened, I thought I was going a little crazy, and I still feel that way now. Anybody have any thoughts or input? I think I experienced 2 small glitches within an hour or so of each other today. It's Monday morning, May 24th, 2021. It's the only opening shift I have during the week, so as usual on Mondays, I get up, quickly shower, get dressed, tell my partner goodbye for the day, and head out the door. I like to treat myself to a beverage from a local coffee shop on Monday mornings, so I go to stop there, which, on the way over, I change the radio stations. Yes, sometimes I still listen to regular broadcast radio. Anyways, I change the station to a popular morning talk show since it's the only day I catch it on. Less than a minute later, I catch myself singing along to a song on the radio. Africa by Toto, if you're wondering. And I realize mid-line that I turned the station to my talk show. Why is music playing? I look over and my radio is on another station. The station it was on before I changed it. I definitely didn't change it back. Why would I? I felt stunned for a moment, trying to get my brain to remember me changing the station back, but no such memory came to mind. I change it back and forget about it during the rest of the drive. Sometime after I get to work, I go to put a new product on the shelf, but it needs price stickers printed and put on the product first. When going to the computer to print price stickers, I remember another product currently on the shelves that only half the inventory had stickers for. So, I decide to print the rest while I'm at it for the new product heading out. For reference, the new product is called Super Lemon, and the product I am just printing remaining stickers for is Blueberry. I decide to print the blueberry labels first, since I knew I would forget about them if I didn't do it right away. because that isn't the new product I was going to put out. I print the blueberry labels, fold them up so I can put them in the box with the remaining unlabeled blueberry boxes. Then, I print out some super lemon labels. I grab both, head to the storage room, put the folded blueberry labels in the box with the product, and then head to the sales floor with the super lemon labels. I unpack the box of lemon, get the labels ready, and I noticed that I had the blueberry labels in my hand. Never been folded. I know I printed the blueberry labels first. I know I folded them immediately before I even printed out the lemon labels. How did they get reversed and switched? I know these two instances are mild and could have easy explanations, like maybe I did change the station back and just spaced out about it, or maybe I printed lemon first, but neither of those explanations feels right. I know what I did. Anyways, thanks for reading. This happened years ago. I was 16 years old at that time. It's a story that always gets retold to visitors and new friends. It was a regular weekend. My mom, my uncle, our house helper, and I just got home from our leisurely trip to the mall. We shopped for some groceries along the way. We rushed to get in the house to store all the groceries and make dinner, because it was already quite a late evening and we were hungry. After working together to organize all the groceries in the pantry and to cook food we would be having for dinner, we clean up and all gather in the living room. We all sit down on the couches to rest and unwind while we wait for the rice in the rice cooker to be done. As we chat and laugh about menial things, we all see my mom reach into her pocket and place her car keys right on the coffee table that is in the middle, surrounded by everyone in the living room. A few minutes later, we hear the rice cooker click, signaling that the rice is done. We all then rush to the dining table, excitedly serve the food, and engage in lively conversation while eating. Not long after, we clean up and head again to the living room to sit and watch TV. Then, my mom reaches out to the coffee table to grab the remote, and we all notice that her car keys are gone. We're all baffled. No one has touched that table except for her when she placed her keys on it. She tells us to help her find it, so we scan the entirety of the first floor. We ransacked it, checked every crevice and corner, and we find nothing. So, we agree to look upstairs, even though we knew we wouldn't find it there. Take note that no one has left the first floor to go up to the rooms on the second floor until we all decided to go up to look for the car keys there. We were all together in the same area of the house on the first floor, and we all gathered together to go up to the second floor at the same time. We all decided to work together to search my mom's room, not seeing any trace of the car keys, and ultimately agreeing to humor my mom's ridiculous idea of checking underneath the mattress of her queen-sized bed. To our confusion, disbelief, and shock, we find the car keys in between the heavy mattress and the box spring. Right as we lift the bed, we see it right there, wedged in the tight space, placed right in the middle of the box spring. How did the car keys end up there when none of us had the chance or time to put it there? To this day, none of us are able to find a logical explanation for that experience. This happened about 10 years ago. Me and my mother were moving from one side of Durham to another when I saw a Zaxby's with awesome neon lights. I asked if we could go there to eat, and my grandfather said, maybe. It depends on what your mother wants after you settle into your new apartment. 2 weeks go by, and I ask if we could check out that Zaxby's in the shopping center. Everybody agreed, and we took off. Except, when we arrived, it wasn't there. Instead, it was an abandoned Fuddruckers. I and everybody else was confused. I was shocked. I could have swore that I saw it, because I remembered seeing it almost every day. And to make this more spooky, my aunt checked as much as she could in its location and found out it was never built in that shopping center. And last, another month goes by and my grandparents had no memory of commenting on going there. I now personally believe that I somehow merged with the parallel Earth where Fuddruckers instead of Zaxby's was built in that location, but I have a clear memory of it sitting next door to the Fuddruckers, and Fuddruckers was open. So that was this week's Glitch in the Matrix collection. Hopefully you enjoyed this collection, and if you did, hit that thumbs up button. You can also leave me a comment letting me know which one you enjoyed the most, and you can subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon if you're new. If you're a returning listener, just leave a comment, like I said. Tell me hi, how you doing? How's it going? Yeah. You can also support the channel by following me on all my social media platforms or supporting over Patreon, Coffee, channel memberships. All patrons and members get early access to content like this. All that said, let's move on to the good old word of the week, and a bit of an announcement on that. I am going to change how I do it from here on out. I believe I'm going to just be pinning my favorite one from now on. I don't think I'm going to be including the screenshots in the outro anymore, mostly because it's kind of died down on submissions. This last one got 3, the one before that got 2. So it's just not getting the attention it was. So I think I'm just going to pin my favorites from now on, and we'll move on from there. If that decreases the interaction with it even more, I don't know. It'll be a future thing we'll have to figure out. So anyways, first up we have Arlene Freeberg, who got hers in just in time. Her comment was, "Hey Raven, I love those Glitch in the Matrix stories, one of my favorite topics for sure, and love your channel because you have a plenitude of GITM videos. Thank you, Arlene. Always appreciated." Next up, we have 242 reads, "Of course. When your fridge has a plenitude of food, but yet you still order in. That is me these days. I never have time to make food. I'm always working. Maybe this week I'll be better, but something tells me I will still have that plenitude of food by the end of the week." Which was an awesome sentence. Thank you, 242. And then last but not least, we have Eliza H. "Raven stories provide a plenitude of enjoyment. Keep up the great work." Thank you very much for that. I do my best. So, this week's word of the week is desolate. D-E-S-O-L-A-T-E. It means devoid of inhabitants and visitors, or joyless, disconsolate, and sorrowful through, or as if through separation from a loved one. There's a handful of other definitions that you can use. Doesn't really matter. However you use the word, that's how you use it. So, desolate. D-E-S-O-L-A-T-E. Good luck with that, and I hope you all have a beautiful week. Thank you for watching, and as always, sleep well.